The Buffalo Bills have the opportunity to improve to 5-1 entering the bye. If that's going to happen, they have to hold off a hungry Falcons team coming off of theirs. An injury update and my 5 predictions for Sunday are coming your way today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of the Herd Mentality Substack, co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, co-host of the NFL First Read Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Locked On Bills is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Well, folks, welcome in. This is the last conversation that we're going to have before the Bills face the Atlanta Falcons in Week 6 on Monday Night Football. We'll, of course, give you my 5 predictions for Monday night. We have a big injury update to get into with Dr. Kyle Trimble, but I want to start with my final thought, the big thing on my mind entering this game, and it's pretty simple, and it's this. 5-1 going into the bye sounds a whole lot better than 4-2 and on a 2-game losing streak. The Bills need to bounce back. They really do, and they usually do. Since 2020, the Bills are 17-5 following a loss with an average margin of victory of over 10 points. I like that. That needs to continue after Monday. And the Bills are going to face a very eager Falcons team that's coming off their bye. So they have a rest advantage. They're at home. And you know what that messaging is like for Atlanta. This is a measuring stick game for them, right? A young team on offense and defense, a second-year coaching staff that's in year 2 of a top 10 quarterback. You know what the messaging all week in Atlanta has been. An opportunity, right? The opportunity's knocking for the Falcons to get to go up against the mighty Bills and Josh Allen and the reigning MVP. And a team that, while they haven't won a Super Bowl, has been a team that set a high standard for performance and results over the last 5-6 years. And that's just part of the deal, right? That's what the Bills get every week. You get some other teams' best opportunity, their best chance, right? Their best fight to go and try to prove something, right? That's what the Falcons are going to try to do in a primetime environment at their place. I'm excited to see what type of resiliency and focus the 2025 Bills have. Now, the season's not going to be defined by this week, but I am anxious to see what type of response this team has. And I like the challenges that Atlanta presents. Bijan Robinson's an awesome football player. Really good running back that is a huge part of their passing offense as well. He lines up in the slot. He lines up out wide. The Bills need to be able to handle a guy like this. Robinson's going to make his plays. I have no doubt about that. But can you contain him enough to make sure he doesn't wreck you? How about Drake London? Really good NFL receiver. Was 4th in the league last year in receiving yards, 100 catches, 6'4", 220 pounds. He's a good player. And he's another guy that lines up in a lot of different spots, whether that's out wide or in the slot. Well, Christian Benford and Taron Johnson haven't played great football this year. Here's a great opportunity. Dial in. Compete. Drake London's going to make his plays. But don't let him wreck you. You're facing a team defensively that has a lot of speed that's going to blitz a ton, that's going to attack you with 5-man pressures. You're on the road. There's nowhere to hide in the NFL. There's nowhere to hide. Everyone's got injuries. Everyone's got problems. The good teams figure it out. The bad teams don't. I want to come out of Monday night encouraged. They're 4-1. I think we can all agree they haven't played their best football. They've certainly had exciting moments. There's been times where the offense looks unstoppable. There's times where the offense looks like it's going to stop itself. Defensively, they've been vulnerable all year. There's been moments, right? A couple of big takeaways. They rose to the occasion, late in that Baltimore game. There's been moments, but ultimately, I want to start seeing more out of this team. And I'm suspicious that will start to happen out of the bye, where the Bills will have the reset. They'll get healthy. They'll get players back, whether that's injured players or suspended players. And I'm excited to see them hit their stride. And I understand that they're building towards something, and the team doesn't have to be the full version of itself, the best version of itself at this point in the year. But I want to start to see those strides. But the fact that they're coming off of a loss, a disappointing loss, and next week is a bye, I think this is a great opportunity to get a feel for the resiliency and focus of this football team. And I hope they respond, and I hope that I'm encouraged, and I'm hoping that we're excited entering the bye and talking about the opportunity ahead, as opposed to panicking coming out of the bye and concerned about the road ahead. I think a lot of that resides in how this team plays and what the results are on Monday night. Not to get too far ahead, but I do want to make you aware of an event. The Bills are traveling to Charlotte, North Carolina in a few weeks to face the Carolina Panthers. I live in Charlotte, and I know there's a lot of folks that have been asking, is there going to be any type of event here for local fans or maybe Bills Mafia that's traveling in? Yes, there will be, and I'm going to tell you about it right now. So there will be a day before takeover event. So on October 25th at 1 p.m. Eastern time, that I'm going to be part of at the Waxhaw Tap House. Starts at 1 o'clock. We're going to hang out until 5 o'clock, and that's really what it is. We're just going to have a big hangout. There's going to be food, games, entertainment, giveaways. I'm going to be available to say hello and hang out with you guys, do a live Q&A at some point. It's a great venue. They have tons of different beers. There's going to be Labatt's as well. So come hang out. 1 o'clock until 5. Waxhaw Tap House, October 25th. Should be a really good time, and I hope to be able to say hello and hang out with Bills Mafia here in Charlotte ahead of this game. For more details, go to thejoemarino.com, and you could type that right into your browser, or there's a link in today's show notes. Again, thejoemarino.com. We do kindly request that you RSVP, which is very easy to do on the website. But the venue just needs to have an idea of how much staff to have on hand. Obviously, I've never done an event here in the Charlotte area. We've done events in Western New York and in Rochester, but this would be the first here. And so nobody really knows what to expect. So if you could just kindly RSVP if you're coming on the website so that the venue knows what type of staff to have on hand. So come on down, thejoemarino.com for more details. Again, a day before takeover event ahead of Bills and Panthers here in Charlotte. All right, folks, coming up next, we're going to talk to Dr. Kyle Trimble of Banged Up Bills. A lot of injury stuff to dive into, so be sure to stick with me. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times helps keeps the projects from punting, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Well, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. And the part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. So join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. I'm joined now by Kyle Trimble. He's a doctor of physical therapy. He runs bangedupbills.com. You can follow him on social media at bangedupbills. He joins us each week to get ready for the upcoming Bills game from an injury perspective. And boy, we got stuff to get into here today. I want to start by acknowledging a couple of players that have been injured, that's missed recent games, that have no designation this week. I'm talking about Ed Oliver at defensive tackle and Dorian Williams at linebacker. Both players practiced in full on Saturday and have no game day injury designation. So the expectation is that both will go, which is obviously a huge boost when it comes to Ed Oliver being back defensively. But I'm curious at linebacker with Dorian Williams back in the fray, and we know that Matt Milano has been ruled out for this game. I'm curious if the Bills go with Dorian Williams as the running mate to Darrell Bernard or Shaq Thompson. I personally hope that's Shaq Thompson. Obviously a big test with Bijan Robinson, and Shaq Thompson, he's with the Panthers for a long time. He's certainly been part of a lot of game plans against the Falcons and Bijan Robinson. And so I'd like to see Shaq Thompson get that opportunity. Dr. Kyle, we got stuff to get into. Dalton Kincaid is questionable with an oblique, has been in a red jersey all week. Limited participant in practice. What are you thinking about him?
He's a 50-50 in my book right now, only because we go back and through and see how the Bills have managed oblique injuries since 2017 when I started doing this, and then when Sean McDermott started coming in. Each player that's had an oblique injury has missed the following game, for the exception of Stephon Diggs. He managed to play through an oblique injury during the 2020 playoffs. That being said, every other guy was also do not participate, 2 or 3 out of the practices, and like sometimes you get limited practice and questionable ruled out. We have limited practices for Dalton Kincaid throughout the week, and he was seen catching balls and running through things. They just didn't want to aggravate the injury. It's also important to note that Sean McDermott said he was sore. We thought it was soreness because he suffered a right hand injury in the game sometime in the third quarter after he caught a ball, but then it turns out he has an oblique injury. So it's 50-50 in that the previous instances show that he should be sitting out, but you also have the bye on the back end and the fact that he was doing so much during the week. I can see them at least trying to make him go just because you have the benefit of the bye on the back end, maybe limit his snaps in some respects, but you're not going to make him questionable and have him practice all week based off of the previous history that they've done with that there. So common sense says you should sit him because of what he is and where the time is, but I also see an opportunity to play him and really kind of get out ahead and run more of that 13 personnel we see versus trying to limit you and only have Knox and Haas. So I'm gonna say he's gonna play, but I don't know that he's gonna have a big game though.
Yeah, it seems like even with his role when he's fully healthy, right? People are frustrated that he's not playing a little bit more, but that's kind of the architecture of the offense, and so maybe it's high leverage passing downs. You get him on the field, but obviously, a lot of good early season success for Kincaid we want to see continue. Let's talk Curtis Samuel. Wow, I'm surprised we're talking Curtis Samuel. You've done that, I think, every time we've ever had a conversation since he's been on the team. And, of course, it comes after he's like a productive player. He has a big 20-yard catch. He scores a touchdown against the Patriots. And here he is. He's listed as questionable for the game. He was limited on Thursday, did not practice Friday, but was limited on Saturday. He has a neck and a rib designation.
We don't have a ton of information on him. I did see that in the film that he had most of his interactions with contact were due to kickoff returns. The other times he had receptions, he had gotten tackled out of bounds, wasn't a big thing. And the other reception was a touchdown, so he wasn't touched on that one there. So went back, looked through all the kickoff returns. He did get tackled. There wasn't anything notable, like their football plays, but it wasn't like he came up holding anything. It wasn't like he was really slow to get up. There was one play where he was like lingering there for a little bit, but guys were trying to get up off the ground, so you kind of wait until everybody gets up there. So I don't know whether he had the maybe ribs injury from the game and then suffered neck injury during the week because he was doing not participate and then back to limited on Friday. given his injury history, given what he does, everything else like that, I don't see the benefit of playing him, knowing how those injuries can and do linger. Like we saw that last year with the pectoral injury. We saw that with, I think, an ankle. He has so many different things. It's like, I don't see the benefit, especially when you have Elijah Moore that I believe sat last week. You might as well get Moore out there, let CMO rest, and hopefully he's good to go coming out of the bye.
Yeah, I think the layer there with Samuel is it appeared they wanted him to be the kick returner. And so now are you kind of forced to putting Brandon Codrington back in that role? I'll be curious to see how the Bills handle that, or if Ty Johnson goes back to being the primary kick returner. Let's talk Matt Milano. This one should be easy. He's ruled out for the game, didn't practice all week, played through that pectoral injury last week, and looks like he aggravated that. The good news is it doesn't sound like he's going on injured reserve, but he's out again.
It's unfortunate. I mean, this is a guy who has played some excellent football for us over the years, all pro, and then just simply can't stay healthy. And it's not anything that he's doing wrong. I think he's just getting older, and, the injuries kind of just stack up on top of each other. So quick recap, he had done a one-armed right arm tackle late in the second quarter, right before halftime. And he got up, there wasn't anything notable about it. And then he just kind of disappeared, and they said he's questionable with pectoral once they came out of the half there. So looking back through, you saw where he did. And the issue was he tackled with the right side, which was the injured side. I don't believe he came back too soon from the injury because we expect him to miss 2 or 3 games. I don't think they rushed him back. I mean, if you want to make the case they rushed him back because Dorian Williams wasn't playing, fine. But he looked really good last week heading into practice. So I think it was just simply the mechanism of injury. And let's say he's 80% better to be out there, goes aggravates it and say, hey, let's send him back down again there. I don't expect to see him until week 9 at the earliest because he's missing week 6. He's going to have the bye for week 7. I don't see the benefit of playing him in week 8 against Carolina. Let him get a full 3 weeks rest and then maybe get him back out there for Kansas City, which you're going to need him more. So it's just unfortunate, but the silver lining is that he restructures his contract to be done at the end of the year, or at least have a chance to re-sign elsewhere, whatever he wants to do. But it's become a sad story, and Milano's been a favorite of mine. It just can't stay healthy anymore.
The Bills put 2 players on injured reserve, safety Damar Hamlin and defensive tackle TJ Sanders. Sanders with a knee injury, Hamlin with a pectoral injury. We know that Hamlin was a practice injury. I'll let you talk about that. But where I get really interested, outside of your thoughts on just the diagnosis here and what the timetables are, is, these are 2 spots on the roster that are now available. And maybe by the time you are listening to this podcast, you already know the answer, but we're recording this late in the 2:00 hour on Saturday. So we don't know about the practice squad elevations or if the Bills have made other roster moves, but there's a couple of different things that could happen here with these 2 spots being available. First of all, you can look at it and say, well, there's your 2 roster spots for Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi, who are both able to return from suspension when the Bills come out of the bye after this game. In fact, after this game, they're eligible to come off of suspension. Then I also think about 2 players on the practice squad that the Bills could sign to the active roster, and Jordan Phillips and Jordan Poyer, who are both obviously at the positions of TJ Sanders and Damar Hamlin, where you might want to have those experienced players now always at your disposal on the active roster. Or it could be that, and after this game, maybe somebody gets hurt, maybe not. Maybe you look at Codrington as a player that you want to release, or Jamarcus Ingram. There's a lot of possibilities with these roster spots, and I think it'll be one of those 3 avenues. But when you look at these situations with Hamlin and Sanders, do these feel like long-term things? I know they have to miss at least 4 games, but are you feeling like these are severe issues?
We don't have enough information to say whether they are severe issues. Sean McDermott did say on Saturday that he was more hopeful about Sanders returning than Hamlin. We did get confirmation that Hamlin did suffer the injury in practice. We don't know which side. We don't know whether it's, the pectoralis major, like we've seen before with Milano, Bernard, Oliver, those guys, or if it was a pec minor injury, which wouldn't have really qualified for injured reserve designation, though they could do that from a roster management standpoint. It's likely that he had a severe enough injury that required a more than 4-week injury. We see guys, if it's a true tear and he needs surgery, he's out for 3 months. Yes, you could hypothetically return at the end of the season. We've seen that before with several guys. If it's just a strain, you put him on there and then we'll kind of just see what happens there. It's just to note that he did have a right shoulder brace during training camp. I don't know if this is related to that particular injury now, and he could have aggravated it. We'll probably get some more information once we see him out, hopefully walking around or at practice, something like that there. As for Sanders, once again, we don't know a ton of information. We know that he injured it after the Saints game, and this was a pre-existing issue that he had aggravated. Looking back through, he did have a undisclosed injury back on, I believe it was July 28th, where he was assessed by the trainer and kind of went through the motions and kind of came back out there. I don't recall seeing a brace on either knee. I don't see him being limited at any other point. So I don't know what the exact issue is. He is going to go to have surgery, whether this is like a cartilage clean out, meniscus trim, something else going on, bursa, inflammation. It could be a number of different things just off the top of my head. We'll see what happens with that. But given that he's going to have 5 weeks to recover, knowing that the bye week does not count toward that 4 weeks that he has to be on injury reserve, that could be enough time for him to fully get back and back up to speed there. So we'll see what they do from an injury perspective in roster management. It does help that does open up roster spots, but you still want to make sure you have guys available in case other injuries do happen, and make sure that you do the right thing instead of just putting everybody in injury reserve and hope they can come back in the playoffs and everybody be healthy all at once.
It's been a frustrating start for this draft class. You got your top 2 picks are on injured reserve. Dorian Strong, who's been flashy, is on injured reserve. Landon Jackson, the 3rd rounder, has been a healthy scratch most weeks. Thank you, God, for Deion Walker and Jackson Hawes. We appreciate you. Jordan Hancock's been inactive every game except for one. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of time to play out, but not a great start for this draft class at all. So, all right, well, the Bills have a bye next, which feels good. You want to get healthy, but obviously a long road ahead afterwards. Dr. Kyle Trimble, thanks for hopping on and sharing your expertise with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe, and go Bills.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put $5 down, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many different ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Well, folks, welcome back. It is prediction time here on the podcast. As usual, I have 5 of them for you, and I do like to try to tell a bit of a story with my predictions and give you an idea of some game script stuff that I think will play out. So let's do it. Number 1, Falcons running back Bijan Robinson. I predict that he is over 100 scrimmage yards. He's a good player, right? He's a really good player. I think the Bills' tackling in particular leaves a lot to be desired. I think their coverage leaves a lot to be desired. And Bijan Robinson's going to stress those things. He's going to get out and run routes from wide alignments. He's going to work in the slot. He's going to catch a ball out of the backfield. He's going to carry the football. And the Bills' tackling has been suspect. They're going to need to get population to the ball. They're going to need to be able to win, some one-on-one matchups with him in coverage. But I think ultimately he's still going to get a good amount of production. So put me down for over 100 scrimmage yards for Bijan Robinson. Number 2, put me down for James Cook to have over 100 scrimmage yards. We can easily get into all of the problems that Bijan Robinson presents for the Bills. Well, James Cook also presents a lot of problems for the Falcons. It's a very small defense. They have one player on their defense over 300 pounds. That's David Onyemata. And they're going to play a 290-pound 5-tech next to him, a 285-pound 5-tech on the other side. And they're going to play some 240-pound edge rushers with a 223-pound linebacker in Divine Diablo. Now, Caden Ellis has good size at about 235. But this is mostly a very small front with corners that struggle to tackle. We've been through this. A.J. Terrell, Mike Hughes, Billy Bowman. There's redeeming qualities in those players, but it's not their tackling. They're all north of 14% in terms of missed tackle rates for their career. And so I think the Bills have an opportunity to lean into this idea that big people beat up on little people and pound the rock. The Falcons are 27th in EPA against the run this year. And they have a big challenge ahead in James Cook and this Bills rushing scheme. So, yeah, I think Bijan Robinson's going to be productive. I think James Cook's going to be productive. So put me down for over 100 scrimmage yards. Number 3, I think the Bills tag the Falcons for a season high in passing yards allowed against the Falcons defense. The current high is 159 yards that they gave up to Baker Mayfield. I got a text from my brother on Saturday morning. And this is what it said. It's a quote. Didn't realize the Falcons had the best pass defense in the NFL. Really? They face Baker Mayfield in week 1. The next 3 quarterbacks, J.J. McCarthy in his second career start, Bryce Young, and Marcus Mariota with Washington, and they didn't have Terry McLaurin. Maybe the Falcons' pass defense is really good. But I don't think that cast of passing offenses gives you the right context to really believe that. Now, metrically, yeah, they've given up the fewest passing yards in the NFL. But also, on top of me taking exception with really believing that the Falcons have the best pass defense in the NFL because of the schedule, also yards per game is just a really poor way to present an argument as something being the best. Volume stats, they don't really matter to me. They shouldn't matter to you either. There's better ways to measure things in the NFL that truly define whether something is good or not. That's more than just yards. Not saying that yards don't matter. But I think that's an aggressive statement to say that the Falcons have the best pass defense in the NFL because they've allowed the fewest yards per game in the NFL when they face Baker Mayfield, J.J. McCarthy, Bryce Young, and Marcus Mariota. Again, they might be awesome, but this isn't the point in time where I would make a declaration like that. So put me down for the Bills tagging the best pass defense in the NFL for the most yards they've given up in the air this year, which is currently 159. Number 4, I think this is a big Khalil Shakir game. FanDuel has the over-under on Shakir at 48.5 receiving yards. I'm smashing the over on that. He's going up against a rookie slot corner in Billy Bowman. I think Billy Bowman's a feisty player that flies around. But boy, does he struggle to tackle. Just watch him at Oklahoma. This guy missed so many tackles, 25% missed tackle rate. He's missing 17% so far in the NFL. And he's going up against one of the premier yards after catch players in the league in Khalil Shakir. So not only does his tackling have to be on point against a player that's tough to tackle, but I think that probably impacts the way he plays a little bit, right? Could be some good opportunities for Khalil Shakir. So I think he gets over 48.5 receiving yards. So Bijan Robinson over 100 scrimmage yards, James Cook over 100 scrimmage yards. The Bills get 160 or more passing yards, which would be the most that the Falcons pass defense has given up. Put me down for over 48.5 receiving yards for Khalil Shakir. And then lastly, I do think the Bills win this game. I'd be disappointed if they didn't. I certainly acknowledge that is within the realm of possibilities. If you've listened to this podcast for long enough, you know that I believe there's a script for any team to beat any team. And I respect every opponent, and I respect the Falcons. I think they're a talented football team that's hungry, right? Young skill players, talented skill players, coaching staff that, has some likable things. I like Raheem Morris. I think Zach Robinson's got a chance to be a good offensive coordinator. But this Bills team coming off a loss, you can't drop this one. You can't drop 2 in a row going into the bye with your losses being at home to the Patriots, and then you've dropped 1 to Atlanta. I think you get a focused Bills team that I'm not going to promise you everything goes the Bills' way. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think the Bills win 40-10. I think the Bills get the job done on Monday night and improve to 5-1 going into this bye. So there you have it, folks. With that, the hay is in the barn. We've done all we can to get ready for this game. The only thing that's left to do is for the Bills to go out there and win it. And boy, I hope they do, because it would be not a very fun bye week to be sulking in a couple of losses in a row. And speaking of the bye week, we've got content for you. I have more content than I have time for. I've already planned it out. We've got a lot that I want to do. I have some guests that I want to get to. So we have a loaded bye week coming your way. So don't miss any of that. Make sure that you're subscribed. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills. And I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.